Hello, beautiful souls. So today I wanted to talk about plants and the spirit in plants, the life force in plants, which of course we take, we consume, we use to build homes, we use to cleanse things. Plants, just as we have a life force within them, and some of them, just like we, are stronger than others. Just like they have different purposes and different reasons. But some of them are very healing. Some of them are very poisonous. Some of them are mildly healing and poisonous. And so I wanted to talk more today about psychedelics because so many of us know so much about regular plants. And there are psychedelics even in your spice cupboard. Most people don't know that, but they do have psychedelics, and natural things. So it's something, if you're a parent, you should be aware of, that there are common household spices that can not only be a psychedelic to your child, but can get them very sick. And those are common things that you put in like bread and brownies and things like that. So, but I wanted to talk today about psychedelic plant medicines that they make you get into your upper chakra, or specifically into just the lower. Now, I am not an advocate of mega dosing anything or high doses of anything. I think that needs guidance, or it needs lots of practice and wisdom. We use doctors, so why not, shamans and people who guide. And I know it's all the rage to be like, get a certificate to be a shamanic plant guide kind of thing. And whatever, I'm not against that. Those things have become very commonplace now. And it's good because we need it. But at the same time, abuse of psychedelics, psychotropics in the pharmacy of nature are abused. When you use your plant medicine as your spirit plant guide, this is how spiritually it should be used. It should be respected, just like when you're sharing the energy of a person or human being or anything. Certain psychedelics want to be taken. And they know when you need them, and they know when they're your spirit plant, like people have spirit animals. And I've noticed even more so now that I am a carnivore. I'm not a strict carnivore. I do berries. And meat. And I have not eliminated chocolate and sugar completely from my diet. But I'm not doing it to be right. I'm doing it to heal, and because my heart space, as I've shared before, open to those things. And then I use the berries as fiber. And dried berries are natural, out. So I don't do a lot of them because plants are medicine. And if you use them all the time, and you don't rotate them, they lose their efficacy. Just like tobacco is a plant to clear your lungs, but if you smoke it all the time, it's just an addiction. The nicotine becomes an addiction. It's the same with psychedelic mushrooms, with marijuana, with opium, with datura, with cactus. The list goes on, lilies. So when you pick a plant spirit, and most of us don't get to pick. Most of us just experiment with things in society. And we don't know how a plant is going to react with us or act to us. And shamans used to study this, and that was how you got to know your plant, because your spirit plant, the one that guided you, the one that helped you the most, you would advocate for, stand up for, work with, defend it. And it would defend you. Why? Because it was increasing your aura in your shield. And it was helpful for you to open the heart space and received your Holy Spirit, your energy from your higher self, from your whole Merkava, doing its energetic thing that it does. So if you think of plants such as like poppy, and we think, oh, like poppy, anyone can get addicted really quick to smoking opium, even in its natural case, unlike like cacao, which we make into a chemical and make it, bad for you. The cacao leaf, the coca leaf, not the cocoa like chocolate, but the cacao leaf. Am I even saying it right? The coca leaf is used to calm down the stomach. And when I had a friend from Peru, they would bring me, when I used to know them, I don't right now because we lost touch, but they used to bring me tea when they would come back from their country because they knew I had a lot of stomach problems, and they're very open to the use of that plant in their country, not so much to pot, which I used. But it wasn't cutting it, so they brought me the tea, and the tea was amazing. And it doesn't even feel like a normal caffeine high like coffee, which the coffee that I use, that I have been using for my migraines, is more mixed with mushrooms, and it's a coffee extract. It's not like regular cheap coffee. It's medicinal. And I only use it when I need it, because I'm not someone who likes coffee or likes bitter, but it's probably my liver needs that. Congested liver, you don't like bitter. Like, you avoid actually the things you need. Like, people who are dehydrated will avoid water. And then when they drink water, they'll be like, all I do is pee it out. Well, that's because you don't have enough salt, saline, and you're not drinking enough for your body to actually replenish yourself. You clean your body out and hold on to it. Try to tell people this all the time. They don't listen about water. And then too much water, too much of anything can be too much, can flush you out and make you lose minerals and nutrients. So, everything has to be a balance. And the more balanced you are in your own nature and know yourself, the more you know when to have, when not to have certain things. Best thing to do in the morning, I found, with water is get up and drink a quart with a little salt or lemon or whatever you put in it, and before you have anything. And at first, when you're getting used to that, you'll get so full you won't even want to eat your breakfast or whatever. And then when you keep doing it, it will actually make you hungry, balance your stomach, and make space for a breakfast, balance you out. So I try to have fluids like before I have coffee if I'm treating myself for the migraines, which I've had for close to a month now, been getting. And that is inflammation in my neck and my spine. So to work with certain drugs that are very, very potent, people like to say narcotic, they're addictive. But things that are very potent are jealous gods. That's what they call them, like in Egypt when they use the poppy and different things. Yes, spiritually it can take you into deep places, but it also will own you. If it is not your plant guide that you have been specifically called to work with, it can ruin you. The poppy and doing poppy too much, as in anything too much, even mushrooms, when you take the high doses, tend to be more negative trip and more of a tearing down the psyche or the whole body or the psyche. And you can feel such a oneness with nature that when you have heavy doses, you feel the very deep lower realms of nature. And it can be, if you're not in the right place and your stomach's not in the right place, what it's going to do for you is open up all your lower chakra and pull up all your negative, traumatic belief systems and stuff and show that to you, whether that are demons or, they will have to manifest as archetypes. Though they're not that, they will manifest as that. And archetypes are very strong beings because we've made them that with our minds. So when you take a high dose of something as to microdosing something, you're ruining the efficacy of it. And I'm not saying you can't do this on a shamanic trip. I'm saying if you use something regularly, like people use pot regularly now all the time, like I do to sleep or for pain, But if it's not your spirit plant that you know you're guided to work with, and I have different plants at different times I work with, but one main one will stay my guide for an amount of time. Like when I'm working with mushrooms, sometimes I have to just stop the marijuana and just do the mushrooms. Sometimes I use them together because of my stomach issues, and one balances out the other. And the ones I'm talking about are not illegal. I pick my own amanita in the woods. That's not illegal. It's not on the Illegal Mushroom Act, though like things like reishi and stuff are. Very common mushrooms you find all over the place are. So this is done so that we don't find out on our own and don't have power on our own to use plants. They make them illegal, just like they did with American ginseng, and then sent the military out to torch wherever it was growing and take it away from people because it healed people from cancer, many different diseases. They try to do the same with lobelia, but, like by the late 80s, 90s, we were already being, advocating for these plants. So when you're trying to get in touch with parts of yourself, lower and upper aspects, in different realms within yourself, using a form of projecting up your astral cord or within your own self, your bowl, your earth, then sometimes you lose touch with reality. Even though it is your own reality via archetypes, you can lose touch with yourself mentally, or come to a place mentally where you can mess up your own brain and imbalance your chemicals, especially if you're already imbalanced. So without a guide who takes the drug and guides you through it, a shaman, you don't have someone on the same mental plane with you. So they're practiced and can get in with the vibe you're vibing with and experience the experience you're experiencing, and then they can, level you out and bring you to where it's safe for you to be. So you get through things. So you expel parasites, expel demons, expel any disease is a lower aspect or a 4D entity anyways. I'm not saying it's wrong to carry a disease. I'm saying it's a dis-ease, and the wrong, bad, disease, evil, parasitic, whatever you want to call it, starts in a fourth dimension. It started with the mind and created that way, like death. So these things, though they're very great teachers, they're also misused and can also destroy you. Like there's a lot of information coming out right now about people becoming psychotic from using marijuana too much, or using it too young, or using it in a bad way, mixing it with a bunch of other things, which is very not right. Even drinking and smoking. Not saying you can't do it, saying you shouldn't do it all the time. In nature, marijuana grew naturally to have between 3 and 6 milligrams, maybe sometimes more. But we made that unnatural. We doped it up to 28%, 33%, whatever, and higher. So we're GMOing a plant. We're kind of giving it more power than it ought to have, shamanically and spiritually, and it can be very destructive. So I'm like this 2-toke girl. When I smoke, I take a couple tokes, unless I'm really trying to get into an alternated state of reality. Or if I need to exercise or move my chi and energy around and I can't because I'm in too much pain. Also, if I'm working with another shaman, to get on their level, I am going to have to be on their level to be able to share with them. When I take large doses of mushrooms, not only does it disturb my stomach and lower chakra, the God's seat and the fire, below, but I can channel very negative things. Angelic beings, I would call them, angelic thought forms that teach me about death and things that I could do to my enemies like that to wipe them out. And I never am like, oh, I'm channeling a demon, or I'm channeling an aspect of myself. I don't blame things outside of myself. I used to. But if you understand oneness in your own Holy Ghost and God, your earth, your terrain is yours. It's not some other things that happens to attach to it inside or outside. It's just you. It's you and your God, you and yourself, you and your Holy Ghost, you and your soul, body, soul, spirit, joint, marrow, all that. It's you. And when you're in these heightened states of mind, or not with control in your mind, and you're hallucinating, it's very easy to lose touch with yourself and reality. That's the point. So that you don't see this as the only reality, and you can prepare yourself for other realities. And the possibility of heightening your own reality on earth and your own genetics to change them. Any plant you take in, be it food, medicine, tree bark, psychedelics, all of these things affect you in some way and can enhance your DNA. Now, I don't believe what other people believe about DNA, that, oh, this has been taken out and that's been upgraded and that's been downgraded. Yes, but it's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that your own mind and your own blockages are what creates the downgrade in your own DNA. And believing in upgrading your own DNA and the potential of that without having to add in fourth dimensional creatures is a possibility. Now, I'm not saying don't connect with your ancestors and don't connect with Gaia or Mother Earth or Tiamat or whatever you call her. And don't connect with like the snake realm and the realm of judgment, law, in the realm of death. That's what that is. And don't, your ancestry is more like the earth aspect of this, as well as the lower dimension, because they're dead, their ancestors, most likely, if you're trying to commune with them. And you can also commune with the upper dimensional realms of yourself through your higher self. So when you play with psychedelics like this and you don't know and understand all of these things, you can imbalance your body, brain, your spirit, and your soul. And you can become very scared and very terrified of things, and you can develop psychosis, which is actually a trauma. Psychosis is a trauma, not just a chemical imbalance, because if you weren't traumatized, you could convince your brain to agree and know elsewise, otherwise. But if you're traumatized, you're not going to trust yourself to believe in anything but fear. Watch out for this, watch out for that. When I'm not in fear, I can go hiking into the woods in the middle of nowhere alone and I have no fears at all, even meeting fourth dimensional things. When I'm not in a right headspace, or I've been recently traumatized, or let my energy down, my energy body, my Merkava, the glory of your body, the glory of God in you, Christ in you, which is what all that is, when that shield is lowered, then I'm more vulnerable and more apt to have fears that are ignorance or nescience. There's no need for those fears. They're not logical because I didn't have them before. What made me have them and believe in them was getting pulled into a trauma, and then you isolate in order to heal, or hermit in order to heal, and then that becomes a reality to you, and it's not and shouldn't be. And so then I use psychedelics to push through those traumas, because they push you through them, either by the fact that you don't care and focus on them, or that it takes down barriers of fear within you, or makes you have to face them. Or, like sometimes megadoses of mushrooms do, you see yourself as God creating all this. And not, as I said, it's not exactly the same. It's more of a comical and fake and weird thing, or a psychotic thing when you take too large of a dose of a psychedelic. Then when it's your higher self, it's almost like you can see yourself looking down within yourself and be like, when it's your own energy, your own Merkava, your own glory energy, then you can look down on yourself without judgment and just see yourself as, oh, this is what I did wrong here. This is what I'm doing right. This benefits me. This doesn't benefit me. And there's no judgment. And until you can, get online with your soul to open that seat, that lower flame, which often happens with actuality, and the Kundalini is usually activated that way, can be because it's a space on the spine. So when that's activated either by trauma or I can't say the whole word, on here because I don't want to get things removed, or by falling on your tailbone, which happened to me, it starts all this stuff. So, yeah, physical trauma, mental trauma, any kind of trauma, even to the auric field. So, my thing about psychedelics isn't an, oh, don't do this. It's just a common sense warning that if you eat too much or drink too much of something, you're going to get sick. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to be out of balance. And have the common sense to understand when you start psychedelics to start with a micro dose. Because if not, you're going to have a bad experience because your body's cleaning itself out and balancing itself, even in the mental realm, the chemical realm. We're all made of chemicals and energies and, flesh, blood, all of this. So be in a place, in a space where you're doing it holy, where you're doing it worship, where you're doing it in love towards yourself and others. Many of us start drugs or drinking even in a wrong environment, and it causes us to be too open, and we regret it the next day. So all of these things, and there's times when if I'm feeling really depressed, I rarely ever drink, but I will smoke and drink together, and it will help me to blow through stuff because I'm not abusing it. I'm not an alcohol drinker unless I feel that I need to be because it's a medicine. And that is how I use it. And I'm not boasting because I've misused things just like anybody else. There's no one better than the next. Some people know better. Some people have more self-control. Some people have found out the hard way, like I have with being drugged and abused. And even when my friends were telling me, like, this person is forcing you to take drugs and abusing you, like, you don't have a choice, and you got to get out of there. And I had no place to go. And so I was just like, no, this is my fault. It's my problem. And I'm just going to blame myself and sit in this because I hate myself because of everything that happened in my family, which I don't hate myself now. I mean, I can literally clearly say I'm in love with myself, even my meat suit, because you got to love all of it. And people tell you not to love all of it. There's right and wrong ways to do anything. You can be narcissistic or you can be holistic. You can be everything me, and you can be everything they, and what are they going to think and what's that going to think, and then you're not in touch with your internal. And it's a balance of in and out. But like I've said before, in order to balance with the outside world when you're very traumatized, you have to go inward to know your holy ghost. You're a spirit, eternally moving ever on in some form. And so until you love that, love it, every day say, I love you, till that heart space is online and you agree with that love. It's true. It's not like, oh, I love you, I'm going to take a salt bath. Oh, I love you, so I'm going to go clean out, the clothing aisle and buy myself lingerie. Maybe that's the way you got to start, and I'm not judging you, but I'm telling you that's not it. Candles in the bathtub. It's a great beginning. It's how I began. I tell people I found my collie in the bathtub contemplating suicide, and I didn't know really anything about her. I'd kind of sort of worked with the taras without really knowing what I was doing. And so that came to me in a space where I needed it. Another person I know, she was going to kill herself because she was on so much diazepam and she was so depressed. And so from trauma. So she went out into the woods and the Amnita started talking to her. Like, don't kill yourself. If you're going to kill yourself, can you at least try us first? Can you commune with us? Literally did this to her. Because she already was psychotic. She already was open, but in a negative way. And these things were low to the earth. They break you down before you die, when you die. But they're not evil like people try to be. Oh, well, the mushrooms, we consume people. You took too many mushrooms. You got lost in the snake realm, in the law realm, in the death realm, in the I'm better than you realm, in the I deserve to judge everybody realm, in the Yahweh realm. And I'm not judging you. I'm simply saying the more, and this is in Romans, the book of Romans, I think chapter 12. I don't, I used to know those things by heart. I'm not trying to now, but the more you perpetrate laws, the more laws you make, the more sin you create, the less grace you allow in yourself and in others. So for me, learning to get back to, because I love that, grace, a non-judgmental space has been so healthy for my mind, body, and spirit. Like I say, always. And the Kundalini gets on space, I age backwards, I heal, I'm happy, I want to be out for hours hiking alone, I'm singing to myself, I'm praising God in me, praising God in everything, because if you're praising God in you, you're not praising God in everything and everyone. But the point in that being is to raise up your own aura, as I've said in my last video. Oh my goodness, 30 minutes goes by so fast for me when I talk about what I love. When I'm nervous, like, because narcissists and being raised around that, when you're the victim of their abuse, which I'm not anymore, when you're their puppet, they will push all your buttons and make you talk. My mom used to make me like that, till I just talked as a nervous reaction all the time, especially when I smoked pot. So when I see other people get high and they talk like a magpie, which I'm not high right now, I know they have deep-seated trauma. And I also know that most likely marijuana is probably not their plant medicine they should be working with. Or they're smoking way too much of it, and then they're having a panic attack and a mild meltdown. So what I'm trying to say in all of this is be careful what you do with plant medicines, even with your daily foods. Like once a week I'll get an herb and I'll eat that herb. I don't eat herbs or plants much at all because of the diet that I'm on, mostly carnivore and high fat, which is healing me, and I love it. When I got off of it, I got super sick. When I got back on it, I felt way better. So, medicines, roots, spices, concentrated essential oils and things, they're medicines. And when you eat mainly a meat diet, plants are going to be medicines for you. So like once a week, I sit and work with an herb and see how it works with my body and talk to it, and sometimes take it, sometimes, not. Sometimes I just sit with it and I don't end up eating with it. And you should do the same with psychedelics, with any plant. It's why you pray and thank God for your food. So it's going into your energetic body. So you're thanking the plant for all it's doing for you and done in the environment. And then you're thanking it for its life force and eating it. It's not about, oh, thank God out there, some God, I'm going to eat my food, don't kill me, No, it's just communication with everything is how you learn from everything. Even like I look up at the stars at night and I say to them, teach me what you need me to know, guide me with your eye. Before my person tore me down, I used to do that with everything. The sun, the birds, the flowers, what I was eating. Touched everything, talked to everything. Even poisonous plants like poison ivy. Because I purposely get it every year, because I react to it bad. And so I come in contact with it every year on purpose. And now I don't usually ever get it unless maybe a couple bubbles or something. Plants have life force and are meant to minister to us, to heal us, as we are the higher aspect of those things. And so when you work with something that has a high spiritual consciousness, like a psychedelic, you need to respect it like you're working with a human being, which is a god, and they are also a god. Psychedelics like poppy totally messed up Egypt. Egypt used to be about sacred geometry, the netters, and the original fractals of creator oneness. And then they became gods, and the pharaohs started doing all this opiates, that they were channeling for those gods, and they were those gods, and And that's how the whole psychedelic realm, by the way, devolves. We devolve it. We try to worship it. And it's not meant to be worship. It's a plant. You're God. You're higher than that consciousness of that plant. And if you're not, you need to do some work on yourself till you are. Those things are gifts from the universe for us to commune with respectfully. So I'm asking you respectfully to respect plants, just as you would another human being. Just as you would not cannibalize a human being, I hope not. Don't torture plants and animals before you eat them. Don't consume things that were used to sacrifice to idols and things that are not real, because then you build up those archetypes in the ethers, and they will attach onto you when you're in a state that coincides with those plants. Like a lot of people that do DMT meet the DMT snakes, and that's the realm of the law. The snake, the Leviathan, the law keepers, the ones that are supposed to balance the Leviathan, but don't. They turned into Luciferians and Satanists, and this age is devolved, and so they act evolved, and they think they're God, and they don't get it. That's how I see it. Sorry to go against all religions, but not sorry because that's why my page is called Spiritual Anarchy. Thank you for your time, peoples.